I'm excited about being here tonight. And I have a word that God's dropped in my spirit tonight. 2 Kings chapter 2, verse number 9, familiar chapter. And it says this, and it came to pass when they were gone over, that Elijah said unto Elisha, ask what I shall do for thee before I am taken from thee. And Elisha said, I pray thee, let a double portion of thy spirit be upon me. And he said, thou hast asked a hard thing. Nevertheless, if thou see me when I am taken from thee, it shall be so unto thee. But if not, it shall not be so. And it came to pass, as they went on and talked, that behold, there appeared a chariot of fire and horses of fire, which parted them both asunder, and Elijah went up by a whirlwind into the heavens. Verse 12, and Elisha saw it, and cried, my father, the chariots of Israel, and the horsemen thereof. And he saw him no more. Look at somebody, say, he saw him no more. Say, he saw him no more. And he took hold of his own clothes, and he rent them into pieces. And he took up also the mantle of Elijah that fell from him, and went back and stood by the bank of Jordan. And he took the mantle of Elijah that fell from him, and smote the waters, and said, where is the God of Elijah? Where's he at? Look at somebody and say, where's he at? Look at somebody behind you and say, where's he at? In case you don't already know, I like to talk tonight in church. We like to talk. And I know I'm in the right place tonight. Look at somebody else and say, where's he at? Because that's a very important question, because a lot of people don't know where he's at. Thank you. I'm going to come over here and preach. A lot of people don't know where he's at. We go to church, we patty cake, we do all the emotions. And then they go home and wonder, where was God at tonight? They sang good, they clapped good, they patted the foot good. But yet, God was nowhere even in the building. But that's not the case here tonight. You ought to just elbow your neighbor and say, that's the truth. Woo! Glory to God. I feel my help already tonight. Where is the God of Elijah? And when he had smitten the waters, the Bible said they were divided hither and thither. And Elisha went over. I want to preach tonight on a thought. As I was praying earlier today, Spirit of God dropped this in my spirit and said, the time is now. What will you do with it? One more time, ask your neighbor this. What will you do with it? You can be seated in this house tonight. Musicians, stay with me. Help me preach. Amen. We're going to get with it tonight. Amen. As we look here in the Word of God and we look at 2 Kings, and I love reading and studying about Elijah and Elisha, and how that these men of God, and how that Elijah had paid the price. And one day, as you look and you study it out, that all of a sudden, Elijah, the man of God, was passing by where Elisha was out in the field, plowing behind 12 yoke of oxen. And as he was plowing behind these 12 yoke of oxen, the man of God, as he passed by, all of a sudden Elisha began to sense something, seen something on the man of God, and said, I want what the man of God has. Listen, that is why it's important that we come to the house of God. We pay attention to the men of God, the women of God, that is moving in the Spirit of God, because there's something on the life of a man of God or a woman of God that has paid the price, that you can get a hold of something, and you can find out that what they have, you can have as well. Elisha said, he done what? He took and slayed all the oxen. He slew them. He burned them. And now he's following after the man of God. as he's following after the man of God, he is wanting what the man of God has. And as we look here in this passage of scripture, where that we come to, you look on up in chapter 2, the first place they come to together was a place called Gilgal. As you look at the word Gilgal in the Hebrew, Gilgal simply means a roundabout place, or a place of circles. In a lot of people's lives, they're going in circles. They're going in one service at the next. They're coming in and they're going out. They're up one day and they're down the next. They're singing the songs of victory and praise 1 minute, and then they're singing the poor on me, I can't make it. Help me right now. And they're going around and around and around. But you may say, but it don't seem like there's much going on in Gilgal. All I do is go around and around and around. But if you look at something that really jumped out at me today, was in Gilgal. Elijah looked over to Elisha, pastor, and he said, stay here. I'm going to go on. See, most folks would have got offended right there, because they would say, well, the man of God's arrogant. He don't want me with him. Might as well quit. Woo. But there's a test if you really want what you say you want. Can you stay faithful? Can you stay faithful to stay in there and hang with the man of God no matter what it costs you? Look at somebody, say, we're going somewhere. Say, the time's now. Say, the time's now. So here he is. They go to the next place. The place called Bethel. Bethel, we all know, means the house of God. House of God's wonderful, isn't it? How many's thankful for the house of God? Hallelujah. How many's really thankful for the house of God? Woo! You know, I thank God for live stream. I don't know if we're live streaming tonight. We are. Hello, live stream. But you know, I thank God for that access to be able to minister to people that was not able to come tonight. But there's something about coming in the house of God corporately, that when you come together in the house of God, I thank God for the house of God, because it was at the house of God in a 6 weeks revival that I went down to the altar and gave my life to Jesus. I went down there and began to pray, and not only did I get up, but I got baptized in the Holy Ghost, because them old saints wouldn't let you up until they know that you prayed through. Hey, and I remember that moment in the house of God, in Bethel. But in Bethel, what happens most of the time is we just come and we just sit. Lord, if you can move me, God, go ahead and just try it, because I sure am not moving tonight, because I'm tired. Woo! I'm not moving. I don't care how much they sing. I don't care. They can sing it 15 more times. I'm not moving. I don't care how many Holy Ghost pimples I got. Help me, Josh. It's going to get quiet here. And what we do in Bethel is, and I've been there to a lot of those places. My God, you ought to try to preach at some of them places. That when you're preaching in Bethel and they just sit there. Where'd he come from? What's his background? Same as yours. Because I once was lost. But thank God, Jesus, saved my soul. I've been washed in the precious blood. Woo, glory to God. And there ain't nobody can change my mind. I know what I got. And I'm not trading it for anything. And I'm not about to come to Bethel like most of the modern church world. Did I say that? Like most of the modern church world is doing and getting relaxed and calling it a move of God. they're doing is just sitting. Elijah said, stay here. Elisha, man of God, I've come to Gilgal with you. I've come to Bethel with you. I'm going all the way. You find out if you read on down, they come to a place called Jericho. Jericho is a place of sweet fragrance. A place where praise and worship is going up. Oh, Jericho's wonderful. I like Jericho a whole lot better than I do Bethel. Woo, you may not, but I do. I like it when they're moving. I like it when they got their hands lifted up. I like it when they're clapping their hands of praise. I like it when they're stomping their feet. Oh, it's at Jericho where as you praise God, it lifts up a fragrance to the throne of God. And God, that's my people. They're praising me. Host of heaven, listen, they're praising me. He's praising me up on the organ. He's praising me up on the drums. Go ahead, get in there. We're getting ready to wrap this up quickly. I don't preach long. But all of a sudden, in Jericho, we're having a great time. It's the praise is going up. God's a moving in Jericho. And the man of God says one more time, I'm going on. Stay here. I'm going on. Notice something. Let me back up. In Gilgal, Elijah says to Elisha, stay here. But in Bethel, at the house of God, somebody else comes up on the scene. And you got to watch these. 50 sons of the prophets come now. Says Elisha, man of God's not going to be here much longer. You need to stay here. Come on. Say you got to watch. Come on, say you got to watch. Those 50 sons of the prophets. Oh, yeah. Not everybody says, yay, yay. This is the word of the Lord to you. Because most time what they want is another door open. Oh, yes. Because they know how to say it at the right time, at the right moment to get an opportunity for another opportunity to happen. Listen, I don't want just opportunities to happen. I want for a God moment that when all of a sudden when a door opens, God moves. Come on. Hallelujah. Because if it's really a word from God, then it will link to the word of God. A prophecy will never be leaving you scratching your head wondering, where's that at in the scripture? It will line upon line, be upon his precept upon precept. Here a little, there a little. God's saying tonight, you got to watch some of those sons of the prophets because they got the look of a prophet. They got the sound of a prophet, but they're not a prophet. Stay here, Elisha. So in Bethel, in Jericho, they're still there doing it. What did he say to them? He said, the King James said this. He said, hold your peace. Woo! But that don't do me no good. That's city talk for me. But where I'm raised, it simply means this: shut up. I dare you lean over to your neighbor and say, shut up. Oh yeah, go ahead. You can do it. Come on, they know you ain't got no bad spirit. He said to him, hush, hold your peace, shut up. Because there's always going to be somebody that's trying to stop you from the next place God's calling you into. Oh, you didn't hear me. There's going to be always somebody that's going to be trying to stop you from the next place God's calling you into. So now they're at a place called Jordan. Woo, we're about to get with it. Jordan means boundary line of the enemy. Comes from the term, take your foot in the sand and draw a line. Step over it and dare the enemy to cross it. At Jordan, There they are at the place where the boundary line. Why is it a boundary line? Because at Bethel, at Jericho, the 50 sons of prophets come trying to discourage Elisha. They could have the same thing Elisha was after, but they did not choose to do it. And at Jordan, they sat on the bank and they watched as the man of God took the mantle off and he held it up and he said, "Where is the God of Elijah?" And he smote the waters. And as he smote the waters, the Bible said the waters parted. And they walked on dry ground. And listen, and as they got over across to the other side, on the other side, the man of God looked at Elisha and said, "What do you want?" Notice in Gilgal, he never asked him what he wanted. In Bethel, he never asked him what he wanted. In Jericho, he never asked him what he wanted. But when they crossed over to the other side, he said, "What is it that you want?" And he said, "You've asked a hard thing." And Elisha said, "I want a double portion of your spirit." And Elijah looked back and said, "You've asked a hard thing. Nevertheless, if you see me, when I'm taken, when I'm gone, and the mantle falls, it's yours." And the Bible says they walked and they talked a little more. And then all of a sudden, Elijah was out of here. And the mantle fell. Catch this. Elisha could have let that mantle lay there and lay there and lay there. And Elisha would have had to swim back across. He would have had to catch a boat if there was a boat, back across. Because the thing he was after, he didn't realize it. He thought it was the man of God, but it was what the man of God possessed. Elijah, God had called Elijah. But Elisha wanted what God had called Elijah to do. Come on, I want you to catch this. Whatever things you desire tonight, when you pray, believe you receive them, and you shall have them. Notice, my title tonight is "The Time Is Now." It's a prophetic word for this house tonight, and you that's watching by live stream tonight. Is that the time is now. What will you do with it when the time is now and the mantle falls right in front of you? Are you going to pick up the mantle? And are you going to do what you've seen the man of God do in the times of testing, in the times of trying? Will you stand and say, "God, here I am"? Will you stand and say, "God, I know I've been through this and I've been through that, and the enemy's telling me I can't make it, but oh, the devil, you come too late to tell me. I picked up the mantle, and I'm going to lift up my voice here tonight in Flemingsburg, Kentucky, at Greater Ray Community Church at Fallfest Revival, and say, "Where is the God of Flemingsburg, Kentucky?" And I'm going to say tonight, the time is now. God said it's now time for you to realize I am moving. I am moving in the months to where you're at this moment. People are always waiting, and they wait too long. God comes in and moves, and they're still waiting. Look at somebody say, "The wait is over." Come on, prophesy that the wait is over. Say the wait's over. Say the time is now. Say my time is now. My time is now. Time for blessings. Oh, come on. Time for blessings. Time for opportunities that are God opportunities. Say it's my time. Say it's time for promotion. Come on. You got to declare it tonight. Say it's time for promotion. So if I'm saying it's the time, then I got to be at the right place. I know it's a phrase that everybody uses. At the right time. Because if Elisha would have still been at Jericho, he would have missed when the mantle had fell. And the brother would have come. Go ahead and pick it up for me. Pick it up for me. Come on. I'm going to pick on something tonight. Come on. Pastor George, Pastor Jacob, the time is now. The time is now. See, if I would have been at the wrong place as Elisha, what's my brother's name? Gene would have been at that place where I should have been at. Josh. And all of a sudden, Gene got my blessing. In services like tonight, they sing songs of praise. And they clap and they sing and they say, come on, how many feel the presence of God? But there's always somebody. And I'm not here to cast judgment or condemnation on you, but I am going to tell you, I've been there. What I'm about to tell you, that while they've been singing, I've been saying, oh God, let them sing one more verse, and I'll lift up my hands. Lord, let them sing one more verse, and I'll run the aisles. Lord, let them sing. Or Lord, let Sister so-and-so come over and just touch me on the shoulder, and I'll get in and praise you, God. And we're always waiting. They sing 4 more courses, 5 more verses, and we're still saying, God, let them sing one more. Let them sing one more. And what God's saying, I'm ready. God said, I'm ready. But I've been waiting on a people in Flemingsburg, Kentucky on a Friday night to stand and say, tonight's my night. Tonight's my night of a miracle. I come tonight to declare it's my time right now. Somebody shout yes. Shout yes. It was, and some of you have heard my testimony because several of you watch and connect with me through social media. But Pastor Jacob, it was 10 years ago that I literally was preaching 300 some times a year, traveled across the area, God doing mighty things. All of a sudden, we was able to get a piece of property, 20 acres, that my father-in-law blessed us with. And he borrowed the money. We got approved some way. I don't know how. But it had to be God, Josh. We got approved. And we're building this home, this dream home that I always wanted to build. A log home. And we're building it. Everything's exciting. I like seeing dirt turn. I like seeing buildings going up. Woo! Oh, yes. Especially when it's church buildings. And all of a sudden, things is going, I'm traveling. I come back in for the weekend or on a day, look at everything, make sure everything's going good, back out again, I'm going. And all of a sudden, in that process, within that year of building, I get took through a construction deal that leaves me standing by myself when the bank won't stand with me, when nobody will stand, and it's my fault. And I'm standing there in this building, this home now, that I can't call a home because there's no peace there, because there's aggravation there. It was this time of the year, cold. And in that log home, no insulation in it, wasn't finished. Me, my wife, and my little baby girl, Jada, at the time, was sitting in that home with blankets over top of our head, huddled up, over a heater, trying to stay warm, trying to make ends meet. Full time in the ministry. No bank account, no money. coming in. Offerings was more love than there was offerings. There wasn't much love there either, the pastor said. Amen. I like that. In Jordan, I was at that place. We tried it for a couple months. $147,000 in debt. Home wasn't finished. $800 a month. House payment. $1,000 a month electric bill on top of the $800 a month. And I'm living off of whatever little offerings I can get at whatever church that they give to us. And now here I am at a place, and me and my wife, after a couple months, looked at each other and said, we can't do this. And we had to do something. Miracles is about to happen in this house tonight. And God said, we prayed about it, and we fell, and a prophet come to us, know nothing. That's what kind of prophets I like. They know nothing. They ain't got on social media and said, okay, what's he about? What's the pictures about? Kind of get some kind of assumption so I can come in and prophesy. We've had enough prophesying. Oh, come on now, Kentucky people. We've had enough of prophesying in the mountains and in Kentucky. Come on. Oh, yeah. There are real prophets that hears from God. Did you hear me? Glory to God, I feel this. He said, I want you and your wife to come and meet me at such a place. We drove 45 minutes to meet him at a certain place, at a park. He was weeping. I said, I don't want to tell you this, but said, I have been praying for weeks. And this guy know nothing about nothing. I said, God said for you to leave that house. If you don't leave it now, you're going to reap major sorrow in the days to come. He said, you can receive it or not. He said, I'm finished. I've done what I was supposed to do. He got up and he left just like that. It wasn't, let's go out to eat afterwards. He left. He wasn't interested in socializing. That's what you got to understand about a prophet. A prophet's not your best friend. I don't know why this ain't in my message. I got it closed. Here's my notes so you can show them that's, if you can read that left-handed chicken scratch. Hear this. A prophet is when everybody else may be in one mood, the prophet's in another. Oh, yes. Come on now. If it's a real prophet, amen. Because a prophet hears from God. And the things that they hear from God is most of the time things we don't want to hear at the moment, because we're always trying to get somebody to give us a good back massage while they're prophesying. Come on. Whoa, boy, it feels good. But he left, and now me and my wife's driving home, and we're weeping, we're crying. And we looked and said, well, we better be obedient. So we decided to do the thing I never would have dreamed I would have ever had to do, and that was to file bankruptcy. This is 10 years ago. Literally losing everything that belonged to us, things we didn't even owe on, things that we had bought and paid cash for. Lost it all in this bankruptcy due to the debt. Now here I am. I'm still traveling, still preaching. And I go to the platform and preach. Oh, yeah. Many times, Josh, been in service with you. And in them nights, you never heard me mention this one time in those meetings. Nobody ever heard this in 9, well, actually it was 9 years, 9 years ago. They never heard anything about this, Pastor Jacob. I'm going somewhere with this. And they, all of a sudden, I'd go to that platform and I would hear a voice scream. I would hear it. Go ahead, preacher. Won't you preach faith in Jesus now? Won't you go ahead and preach? Hebrews 11:1. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for. Hey, preacher, here I am preaching. Here I am walking the platform. Why don't don't you go ahead and preach Matthew 7:7. Ask and it shall be given. Seek and you shall find. Knock and it shall be open. Verse 8, everyone that asketh receiveth. He that seeketh findeth him that knocketh, it shall be open. Go ahead, 11:24. What things soever you desire when you pray, believe and receive them, and you shall have them. Go ahead, preacher. Tell them to believe big, because look what it gets you. You know what I do? I walk that platform and I'd grab a hold of the platform. And I'd say, all things is possible to them, hey, that will believe, that will trust in God, that will take God at His word, have faith in God. I'd leave and go back to the hotel. And I'd hear that voice again. Boy, you showed yourself tonight. You ain't got nothing. You're living in a moldy, rented apartment, a house downtown that ain't fit for a dog to stay in. Go ahead, preach, preacher. Oh, yeah. Preach faith. I'd do it again. This is going on for 8 years now. And for 8 years, I would drive by this place for the 8-year period of time. And I'd come, I had to look at this house, this piece of property, every day of my life. 8 years I had to look, and I got to the place I got so numb. Some of you are numb at situations that you still never got over. But there's hope tonight. Come on. There's hope tonight. And I got so numb and I was so bitter down deep inside. Oh, I learned how to put the smile on. I learned how to, woo, glory to God. Oh, yeah. Don't act like preachers don't go through that. Don't act like musicians don't go through that. Don't act like singers don't go through that. Come on. Amen. We all go through it at times, or have been through it at times. If you haven't been through it, just hang on, buckle up. You're about to go through it sometime. Amen. Listen to me, young ministers. You'll go through it too. When you think all of a sudden everybody's for you. Whoa, boy, it's good. Hallelujah. Every door is open, and all of a sudden 15 shouts in your face. Here it is. I'm driving by, coming around the curve. And I got so adjusted now because I'm bitter, I'm numb, that automatically my head would turn to not look at that piece of property. 8 years of this. 2016. I would come around that curve that day. And I promise you, it was so real, and me ignoring that place as if that place didn't even exist on the earth. Come on. Glory to God. Glory to God. I hear you, Holy Ghost. I come around the curve. As I come around that curve, a voice spoke in my vehicle about me just being there. You see, well, I don't believe that. I don't care if you don't. It happened to me. Pastor Jacob, it happened. I come around that curve, and a voice spoke. It was the Holy Ghost. And the Holy Ghost spoke and said, when are you going to start praising me for the things that I have blessed you with? And I said, oh, God, I do. I thank you, Lord. He said, no. He said, when you're going to start thanking me for the little things that I blessed you with. You're waiting on big things to happen, and you've not praised me for the little things. I said, okay, God, I'm sorry. I'll do better. He said, I want you to start right now. I get to the house, which was about a half mile where we were staying at the time. We had bought us a mobile home then. A used mobile home. Nothing wrong with having a mobile home. Mobile homes are great. They're nice. They are. They're nice. But the mobile home I had, I spent $3,000 on that mobile home, and I was embarrassed to have any of my church friends to come over because everybody wants to go eat with the pastor at the pastor's house. See what the pastor's house is like. But they wouldn't nobody coming to my house. I had a Mexican restaurant down the road. Hey, we're going to go for Mexican food tonight. Whoa, glory to God. And so to make a long story short, God said, start thanking me for where you live and what you got. Some of the places I preached at, their homes was literally either a few square footage from a mansion or a lot of them was mansions. Bedrooms that I would stay in had living rooms, had kitchens in them, all of them. I could live there the rest of my life in some of these bedrooms. And I'm like, okay, God, their yards are beautiful. And I like striped yards. I like striped yards. You know what I'm talking about? And so, at this mobile home where we were staying at, my yard was about the size of this pulpit width-wise. Well, it wasn't even that. About where I'm standing up to the edge of the pulpit here. And it was about the length of this building, but about from here to there. And 2 swipes, and I had it mowed with a push mower. And God said, start, and here's what he told me. Now, I'm not telling you have to do this, but he told me to start taking pictures and post it. You post everything else on social media. Start posting it for everybody to see, not as a bragging thing, but being thankful. That was hard for me to do because you got to know who I am. I'm not a bragger. So I got so good with a camera on that phone to make my yard, I'm sorry that I sound deceiving on this part, that I got down on my knee and I held the camera like this to make my yard look like it was big. I promise you. Go back and look in 2016. You'll see pictures on Facebook. And it looked like I had a big yard striped and all of that. So I'm thankful. I like outdoors. I'm an outdoorsman. So I like going to the park and these camping grills in the park that you put charcoal in. My buddy worked for a park, and he got me one of those grills that they no longer was using. I had it there. I took a picture of that. Boy, I'm getting good with taking pictures. I'm taking pictures. Hallelujah. Thank you, God. Really been thankful. And then all of a sudden, one day, God said, take a picture of your home. And I stopped in my living room. And I said, now, God, if I take a picture of this living room and this house, I said, I will be a divorced man when my wife gets home from work. And she's probably watching right now. Jacob, I said, because my wife, it's something about a woman, about a wife. Sorry, women. Help me, married men. It's about if you did, and I know this is what's going to happen. When she comes home and she sees that on Facebook, you know you didn't put that on Facebook. Surely you should have let me put the couch over here, and you should have let me put this over here. And sure enough, so she come home, and I got a sweet wife. She's half Cherokee Indian, beautiful woman, and sweet, and I don't want to be a divorced man. But the moment she come in the door, that's what she said. Surely you did. I said, listen. I said, shh. I did that. Shh. If you're a married man, don't do that to your woman. It could be bad. Shh. Hush. Shh. Hold your peace. That's King James. I had to be King James on it. I couldn't tell her what it really meant. Shut up. And I said, shh. I said, if you have anything to say, talk to God about it. I said, I had to do it. I walked to church that Sunday. I didn't walk. We drove to church. And after church, I was preaching both campuses at the time. And at the campus in Manchester, Kentucky, I looked down, and I never answered my phone on Sunday because having gone to both campuses, you all know what that's like. It's just a busy day. And you don't want to hear everybody talking about my dog's got the sniffles and my cat don't like me, and I just ain't got time for that today. Amen. I don't want to hear about your neighbor throwing the can over in your yard. I don't want to hear about that today. You deal with it. Amen. Hallelujah. Boy, it got quiet right there. I hear something right there. Maybe I need to stay there. Come on, it's the wrong thing to have a pastor. Come on, I know what it's like. Well, they didn't let me sing last week, and I'm not coming back. They didn't let me take up the offering. I've had people get offended at not getting take up the offering. If you let them take up it last week because so-and-so wasn't there, they get their feelings hurt, and I ain't coming back. That pastor got a bad spirit. But anyway, I'm at church on Sunday. I preached. We had a powerful service. And then the guy 7 years ago moved from Atlanta, Georgia, moved in that area for nobody to know where he was at, for a place of relaxation due to his business career. That God had blessed him and was very blessed, man. He bought that house, fixed it up. I seen the guy two times in 7 years, and it was, hello, good to see you. You got the place looking good, and that was it. On that Sunday, my phone had message after message, phone number after phone number, and I said, something's wrong. I said, I got to find out who this is and find out what's going on. I picked the phone up, I called the number as soon as service is over, and said, preacher! This guy never been to my church, never watched one service, probably didn't even really believe in the way I even preach. And he said, I want you and your wife, if you got a few moments, to come by the log home. And I said, okay, I'll come by. We thought maybe something's wrong, maybe he's sick or something. We pull in the driveway, and every kind of feelings. I've never passed out, been sick, never passed out, I've never had to go to the doctor over any kind of sickness, anything like that. But I was under so much pressure, so much weight, that I felt myself getting ready to literally fall under the weight of the load. You can get to that place to where the load was so heavy, and all those emotions begin to come back. As I was in that driveway, and I looked over my wife, and she looked back at me, and we got out, and we went like this and walked up to the porch, and as we walked on the porch, this guy's a very energetic guy. And he walks out, and he says, hey, preacher, it's good to see you. We're still trying to figure out what's going on. It's a little weird. He said, come on in. He comes on in, and we walk in. He then shuts the door behind us. And he says, sit down right there. Now it's getting real weird. I'm in his house. I have only talked to him 2 times. Hello, good to see you. Got the place looking good. He says, sit down. He stands in front of us. He says, I've been praying. And he said, this is what we are going to do. He said, God said, my season is up here. And he said, preacher, I've had this I had just posted it on the real estate market, which I have no problem moving it through real estate. He said, it's an easy move. And he said, I have it priced for this, but God said, take it back off and pay the fees for taking it back off. God said, preacher, this house is yours and your children's, and you'll never have to leave it again. Listen to this. Listen. He said, God said you're not going to borrow no money, not going to pay nothing down. Said, because God said he was your bank. Said, I don't know how much you had in it, and all of a sudden my emotions spoke out loud before I could catch it. Come on. I said I had $147,000 when we lost it, couldn't even live in it. That kind of tone. Because I was bitter. Still was in there. Come on. And he said, and 20 acres, right? I said, yes. He said, well, God said to give you this house back for $110,000. Catch this. No money down, borrowing no money from the bank. You had 20 acres, but he said, preacher, look out this window. You see that other joining lot over there? Which was another 20 acres. He said, I'm going to throw that in, which was a dream of mine 10 years ago. He said, you see over here, preacher, over here to the right of you, was another lot that I wanted to get because I didn't want nobody living out in my back door. He said, I'm going to throw that in on it. He said, You have 40 and a half acres of property for $406 a month payment at 2% interest. Go borrow money from the bank and see if you can get that kind of money at that. That's the God I serve. And I've not had to worry about a payment. It's been paid right on time, ahead of time. And God said, every time I deal with you to tell this, tell them that in the years that the locust, the cankerworm, the pommel, and the caterpillar has eaten up, he said, which is Joel chapter 2, if you want to go read it. He said, I'm going to restore it back to you. And it says this, you will not be ashamed, but I'm going to make the heathen a reproach that came against you. As I was standing there, I went on a journey, and I seen some people with their arms crossed trying to stand and stop what has been trying to take place here. But God said, I am standing up in the midst of where you're at, and this is your time now. What will you do with it? Will you pick it up and say, we're going to praise you, we're going to thank you, we're going to glorify you, because we know that tonight the heavens has opened. I've not talked to anybody here. They're the hardest people to get a hold of. I'm not in talking relationship with the president, but I get a hold of the president before I get a hold of these guys. That's a good thing. I'm just picking on them. But I've not talked to anybody in this building about this church. But I do know, and I'm challenging you, you're recording. So you got me on recording as record. Acceleration of what you've been waiting on to happen is about to shift so quick that you'll be over here and not realize you're already over here when you realize you was there, but now you're here. Hey! Because he said what's happened is, and I know I'm messing your church up, but what's happened is the mantle has fallen. You as a congregation that belongs to this church, this local body, is you've got to pick up the mantle that's on the man of God. That everywhere the man of God goes, you got to serve, you got to stay, you got to get along and say, I'm in here with the vision. I'm not just in here just to try. Just to try to get something just for myself. If you're not here to serve the house, then you're not going to be able to pick up the mantle. What happens is the first time I've ever preached in this territory of Kentucky. First time. Hope it's not my last. But what happens as I was on that journey, standing over as they were singing the songs of Zion, I seen many places that God literally brought, yeah, I'm saying it, literally brought and handed it to many a people. But many a people held on to it for a while, but then placed it on the shelf as a souvenir. This is all they say now, is this, we remember what it used to be in the old days. Oh, Granny, she get to shaking that head. Bobby pins are going to fly. Woo! Old brother John Henry would start jumping. Woo! Glory to God. He'd start jumping around. I ain't making fun. Don't think that. And they would say, oh, boy, we used to have some good times. Yeah. Then we come to church and we leave. We get back in the car. Brother Gene, boy, it was a dry in the night, wasn't it? Oh, my God, I didn't get nothing out of it. They sung, and I was ready for them to quit singing on the first song, ready to go home. My belly was a-growling. My blessed assurance was a-hurting. Sorry. I said that so long I didn't want to say it no more. He cranked it up. Whoa! Holy Ghost was waiting. God was waiting. The host of heaven was waiting. See, you're not the only one in this building right now. This building is literally packed shoulder to shoulder with angels that are in this place. And they're waiting for you, the redeemed church, to praise his name. You've been praying and asking God. But God said, if you really want what you've been saying you want, I want you to get ready to play some good shout music. Some good church getting in, camp meeting, revival music. He said, if you really want what you've got, listen, don't worry if you're a visitor. Don't worry about, well, they don't do it at my church. You're not at your church tonight. You're at Greater Rain Community Church. And God said, the mantles are laying in Elisha all over this region. He said, God's sending the people. You preach and you throw it out. You throw the vision out. You throw the vision out. You throw the vision out. And there's times, he's not told me this, but there's times, because I know I'm in it just like he's in it. And at times, we throw vision out. And it comes back, smacks us right upside the face. We throw it out again. It comes back, raises right back upside the face. It's like a bouncing ball. You throw the ball, it bounces. And it comes back up. The harder you throw it, the higher it comes back up. When you throw vision out, and people don't catch it, it bounces off of every person that rejects it. And it comes back. When it comes back, the man of God throws it again. This is what 2018, Josh, what's about to happen? We're about to wrap this year up. If you've not done your New Year's resolution for 2018, you better hurry up. You still got time. 2018's not over. You better go forgive who you need to forgive. You better go hug and kiss each other that you need to kiss and forgive and all that. Because listen, because you don't want to go. I promise you, you can mark this word down and you'll look back on it and say, I wished I'd have listened tonight. Because I'm not in the pastoral position right now, but I'm speaking at one of the prophet's anointing. I'm not saying for you to call me a prophet, but I am under that anointing right now for you to listen. Because 2019 is not going to be a year like none other that we've ever seen in church history. I've been raised in church all my life, around the church all my life, almost born on the front seat of our church. But I seen and I hear in my spirit right now that 2019, hey, is going to be so quickening, so fast. And what God does, that if you hesitate, you will miss the opportunity. Because God said, I have waited for people to grab a hold of it when it was thrown. But what happens is when it's thrown and I don't catch it, then for the next 6 months, Pastor, I'm having it so hard. Pastor, I think I'm just going to backslide. Pastor, so-and-so looked at me cross-eyed last night, making fun of me. No, they got something in the eye, and when at the moment you looked over, something was in their eye. They ain't looking bad about you. Quit thinking stuff. You imagine too many things. Oh, yeah. Quit. You're called. Hear me tonight. I'm speaking to every one of you. I'm not a somebody preacher. I'm an everybody preacher. Come on. Every one of you are called. The time is now. The time is now. What will you do with it? I want you on your feet. A left hand has been healed already right now. Start moving it, even in the joint area. If you have left hand issues, move it right now. Hey, thank you, Jesus. A right foot has been tingling in your foot. It comes and goes, and then sometimes it gets painful. It's like a burning sensation, but it's something wrong has been wrong with your blood flow in your leg. God's healing that right now. Glory to God. Some of you have been waiting on things to be restored. Some of you had that testimony that I shared with you about natural things that happened. That wasn't the only thing that happened in the restoration. But people for 9 years around the area began to spread rumors and said, well, because I was in a building process at the same time, building a church, we was given 6 acres of property to build on. We put $30-some thousand to getting the ground ready and all of that, putting the footers down and all of that, and the bank would not loan us the money for the church because we was just established a couple years. We had property that was ours, didn't owe anything on, that we thought was standing good. Then we had our footers in that we thought would help us. So all of the process, losing the house. Then rumors got to spreading. And they will, Pastor. Spreading around saying, oh yeah, we know what happened. That preacher, oh, that's one of them preachers, took it and sold it, living happy ever after on the money. Oh yeah. Come on. Oh yeah. You know what the Holy Ghost said? Shh. I'm Eastern Kentucky, and it's not easy for me because sometimes I just want to get the good spirit of slap on and repent later. Woo! Don't act like that. Some of you got the spirit of slap on today, and you actually slapped some people today. You need to repent over it. My goodness. Shh. Hush. Holy Ghost says, shh, be quiet. So 9 years, I had to let rumors spread. And when that house was restored, and the truth came out about the church property, which still belongs to the church, it cannot be so, because I had been around church all my life because my grandparents, and anytime you deal with money in the church, you're going to always have wandering minds and wondering what they're doing with the money. I give that now. What are they doing with the money? I don't see anything they're doing with the money. Oh, yeah. Looks like me they're wasting it. They're buying blue lights over here. I got one too. You with me? You with me? I got you steady. What are they doing with it? Shh. Be quiet. But all of a sudden, God restored that back naturally, but He also restored relationships, even close family that had parted ways. And I'm telling you this because when God told me that every time I tell you this, it's going to happen for people that has ears and has faith to receive. God said, I'm restoring everything. And God said, tell you tonight, it's not that you've missed it. God said, I pushed it back for the moment. Wait. I pushed it back for the moment because I'm letting the naysayer talk for the moment. He said, as I've held you back, He He said, what I've done is I had you in the front, and I was your rear guard. But said, what I've done is I've held you back now. I've let them talk for the moment, but their talk is up because God said the time is now. What are you going to do with it? He said, this is what I'm going to do. He said, I'm standing in front. And he said, this battle is mine. You just follow me. As they get ready to play, if you need special prayer, we'll pray for you. Because I do things a little different when the Holy Ghost moves. But I believe so much in praise. It's so much in worship that when you begin to release a celebration of praise, all of a sudden chains that have been on you, things that have been holding you back, is going to be released off of you right now. Will you receive it? Come on. Well, I don't know how to act. Just turn loose and act however. Because when you release the praise, oh, God, it's going to do it. Come on. Hallelujah. Come on, praise Him right now.